In this video, we're going to take a look at dividing decimals. It's not as straightforward as the other operations, but it's not as bad as it might seem at first. You kind of get used to it. There's just a quick little thing you do before you even start the process. So the first thing I'm going to do is, if it doesn't divide evenly, then, and this one does not, but if it doesn't divide evenly into it, then I'm just going to go ahead and move it into long division format. So this is going to be 0.03 dividing into 0.37. Okay, so now I have the initial setup. Now, step one, move the decimal point of the divisor, that's this guy, until you get a whole number. Until you get a whole number. So, 1, 2. If I move it 2 to the right, that's going to give me 3. So, 3 divided by. Okay, move the decimal point of the dividend the same number of spaces. You may or may not get a whole number out of this. 1, 2. In this example, we just happened to get a whole number, the number 37. The next step, divide as you would normally. So if I go through the motions, then I hit 3 goes into 3 once. 1 times 3 is 3. Subtract, I get 0, bring down the 7. 3 goes into 7 twice. 2 times 3 is 6. Subtract 1, and then that's it. I'm done. How your teacher wants you to do this is entirely up to them. You could stop at this point and say you have a remainder of 1. You could continue into fractions and say, well, I have 12, and then I have 1/3. 1, and then you take the divisor as your denominator, so the remainder over divisor. If you are supposed to keep going and complete this in decimal format, then you're going to need to do a separate step that's somewhat unique to decimals. You need to place a decimal point in the dividend, and I would recommend also matching it in the quotient. Then you're going to give the dividend a 0. Now, if you notice 37 and 37.0, there's no difference between the two values. But this 0 is going to allow you to continue the division process when otherwise you might have stopped. So I bring down that 0. 3 goes into 10 3 times. 3 times 3 is 9. Subtract that off, I get a 1. And again, I'm missing it, so I add another 0. And I bring that down. Then I say, well, 3 goes into 10 3 times, and then 3 times 3 is 9. Subtract off, I get a 1. Are you noticing a pattern already? Wow, I am getting really lazy about my hand. If you notice the pattern already, you'll see that I get a 1 each time. What's happening is that 3 is trying to divide into 10, but it just keeps on repeating itself over and over and over and over again. So the final answer of this particular problem is going to be 12.3333, and it's just going to continue on forever. Well, we're math people. We're incredibly lazy by default. So, I know somebody's going to be like, wow, I'm not lazy as a math, but no, trust me, we find lazy ways of doing everything. So we came up with a lazy way of writing this down, and it is 12.3, and the 3 repeats. The little bar over top of the 3 means that repeats. That's it. Only that part. So this is the example of dividing decimals. First, start with the steps, because if the steps aren't done, it's probably not going to go well. You can do it. It just makes it really, really tough. All right, let's try another one here. Let's do 5.625, and let's divide that by 0.18. So I go ahead and I move this into long division format. So 0.18. I'm going to divide that into 5.625. Step 1. Move the decimal point on the divisor until you get a whole number. 2 places again. That's going to give me 18 dividing into. Now on this one, I move it 2 decimal places, and I still get a decimal. It's 562.5. That's perfectly fine. It doesn't change what we do. It's just going to tell us that, oh, when we get here, we're going to have a decimal in our quotient. That's it. So we ask the same exact questions. I might do it a little differently than some people, and that's perfectly fine. I'm a little different. But I always start the same way because that way nothing ever changes ever. So I'm going to consider 18 as a one incomplete number. Will 18 divide 5? Will it go into 5 any times? No. So I put it 0 there. Now, normally what would happen is then I would go 0 times 18 is 0, and I subtract off, and I get 5, and I bring down the 6. So that's what starts the process, so I don't have to remember, like, oh, it doesn't, so I got to shift over a little bit. All my columns add up. So then 18 goes into 56. It sure does. How many times? Ooh, I don't know. But I'm going to try something here. I'm going to try 3, see if it works. If it doesn't, fine, whatever, I'll just back it off. But I'm going to try 3. Now, 3 times 18, I'm thinking of it in my head. I need a spot. I'm thinking of it in my head as 20 minus 2, and I'm multiplying it by 3. This is going to give me 60 minus 6, which is 54. Some other people would have been like, well, yeah, but you can take the 18 and change it into 6 times 3, then times 3 is 6 times 9, which is 54. Yeah, that's fine too. There's lots of different ways to do it. Hi, sweet baby. Yes, you are a loved puppy dog. Yes, you are. So, my black lab is trying to get my attention. So we have 54 here, so we put our 54 down here, and we subtract off, and we get a 2. And then we just go ahead and bring that 2 back down. 18 goes into 22. It sure does. It goes in there once. So 1 times 18 is 18. We subtract that off, we get 4. And then we bring down this 5. Now I changed color here because I want you to see I've already placed the decimal point in the quotient. That takes care of it. I can just go ahead and repeat the process as I always have been up to this point. Well, times 3 gave me 54, so times 2 gives me 36. Apparently that's going to be enough. So times 2, that's 36. Subtract off, I get a 9. Okay, so now, how does this work? What can we do? Well, technically we're done, but our remainder is not good. We have a remainder of 9, and we have a decimal. That's a lot of crap going on in one number. If when you get done you don't have a whole number and a remainder, I would recommend seriously continuing the decimal process out. Yes, sweet baby, I am aware. I love you. I will play with you after I'm done with this video. Alright, so sticking with the previous one as an example, I'm going to put a 0 here, which does not change the value, but it allows me to bring a 0 down. Okay, so now 18 goes into 90. Well, if 18 goes into 90 at all, to get a 0 on the end, 18 would have to be multiplied by 5 or 10. I'm going to try 5 and see if that works. If it works, awesome. If it doesn't, well, that sucks. But 18 times 5. So 5 times 10 is 50. 5 times 8 is 40. 40 and 50 do, in fact, make 90. So we kind of got lucky. We have a remainder of 0. We are complete. This is it. That is your answer. 31.25. And you're done. So this is division in a nutshell for decimals. There's lots of different ways that you can do an example. It's going to take a few times. Give it a try. Don't worry if it doesn't work out the first few times because it's kind of a pain in the butt. Have a calculator handy, double check your work, that sort of thing. But it's kind of nice to be able to tell which way this is going to go. By the way, I knew I was looking for something larger than 5 because I'm dividing by something less than 1. If you divide a number by something less than 1, your answer is going to go up. So I had to look for something bigger than 5. Because 0.18 is close to 0.2, which is 1/5, multiply both sides by 5. This is going to be 28-ish. I was looking in the 28 range. So that's just kind of quick mental math that you can do to double check yourself if you don't in fact get the glorious calculator. All right, hope this helps. Take care.